Here, Des, they look like he hopped the fence right there, and that's where he went out of sight.
Yeah, so really quickly, I'm listening to some radio traffic. Des, they do believe he's on the second story of this building.
Here, Des, they look like he hopped the fence right.
Yeah, that makes sense. It looked like, you know, he might have hopped the fence, and that's how he escaped our gaze for a second, which leads to that staircase up to the second level. So, you know, did he force his way into one of these units, or was this where they were trying to go? I mean, you know, lost control there, taking that off ramp, so it would be pretty serendipitous for them to have lost control where he's trying to go. So it's still anybody's guess at this point, but definitely a concern, because we had reason to believe that, you know, one of the people in the car was armed and dangerous.
Let's bring you up to speed here real quick to all the viewers here. As we hit just about 10 minutes after the hour, we've got on just a few minutes for the top of the hour here with this latest pursuit of assault with a deadly weapon suspect, armed robbery tied into a shooting in South LA at St. Julian and Pico. These are obviously very violent offenders. They kind of lost control of their SUV and kind of spun around on one of the overpasses there. Two of those suspects, we believe there were three, stayed inside of the vehicle. We assume that they are in custody. And then this one driver hopped out and then ran, and then that's where we are now.
Absolutely. And again, the danger tonight, or the cautionary precautions that officers are taking right now, due to the fact that we know for a fact that at least one of these suspects are armed. So if one of them is armed, you don't know which one, obviously, and you know they have to take all the precautionary measures and set up a perimeter, make sure the residents are safe. You know, right now the big concern is obviously this building, who lives inside here, and if one of those suspects, you know, forced their way into one of these units and, you know, maybe had a gun and scared one of the residents there and said, you know, I'm going to stay here and, you know, maybe hold them hostage. We don't know at this point.
It could be a hostage situation.
It could be a situation like that, which we have also seen. So obviously they're going to draw their attention and focus on this building here and getting whoever out as safely as possible and getting to that suspect who is possibly armed.
We see that time and time again where they, in desperation, run, try to find an open door, an unlocked door, some way to get in and hide. That certainly looked like that was the situation today, Mike.
Yeah, well, and the airship just reiterating to the officers on the ground that he's very confident that they have this person in this perimeter. So not maybe necessarily in the building, but they're saying within the perimeter of this location. So they're pretty confident in that. And, you know, just to your point about where people run, when he was coming here, it didn't look like he really was making a beeline for one specific spot. He looked like he was kind of looking around, trying to figure something out, and then he dipped around the back of the building there. But it looks like we see some movement in that doorway.
I think that second door is open. It's ajar. It doesn't look like it.
It looked like someone was there.
So, Des, what do you see? Do you see any activity at all on the second level?
I do see someone. It looks like a pair of legs, but it looks like someone wearing shorts. And I'm pretty sure, if I recall, the suspect was wearing pants.
He was all black,
Right.
Jeans,
so
all black.
Yeah. So, but now the door is closing. There was someone on the bottom story that didn't have a shirt on who came out initially, but was wondering what all the ruckus was about. Looks like they've gone inside on that the floor right below. I think that they still have their door open. But yeah, LAPD was just circling this building like a hawk. There they go. There go the skids of their helicopter through our shot again. So they do seem to be very confident that this is where that suspect is. They did get here pretty quickly. I think, looks like that door is propped open as well here near the end of the building. Kind of hard to tell.
I mean, we could have a SWAT situation here.
In on this one.
We could have a SWAT situation here, Des. Tell us a little bit about
likely
what the protocol is that you believe that the police would next take here.
Well, I mean, they're probably not going to want to go door to door. I mean, it sounds like they think he's on the second story, and if that's what they believe, then they may eventually come to some of the bottom floors and try to tell people to get out. But then, you know, again, if they think that this person has a gun, it just makes things very confident, or rather complicated, I should say. They may just tell residents to shelter in place, and you know, if it is going to be a SWAT situation, then this could be an hours-long process. So they would have to have just a very high degree of certainty, you know, before they try going into any of these units. That's for sure.
You know, we were talking about how there was a shooting involved in all of this before. We know little about that shooting, but as Mike Rogers at the desk was telling us, the shooting happened at St. Julian and Pico in South LA with a possible victim down. So if officers have that information, obviously they know that this person or people are capable of harming someone else with that weapon. And of course, the big concern tonight, Mike, being this building and what could happen inside that building.
Right, and I did hear them ask to hold the crime scene at St. Julian and Pico, so they're still with that. I'm also listening to Long Beach PD coordinating this with LAPD, but I want to point out, and Des, I don't know if it's just incidental where they ended up, but the corner of that building, it looks like now that the sun's starting to go down a little bit to the left, it looks like they've got their floodlights pointed at that top unit. I was looking at some of those police cars, so I don't know if they have, exact reason to believe that they're in that spot or if they're just pointing it at the building in general, but I did notice that there looks like there's some lights up there. Now, you also have to remember, we're now in a different city, so if this does turn into a SWAT situation or a SWAT call-out, which, by the way, the LAPD airship has already offered to give Metro a call, which Metro for the LAPD Metropolitan Division houses their K9, houses their SWAT teams, all of that. So he's already offered to bring out Metro, so that decision is being made. But Long Beach police have their own SWAT, so they could bring theirs out as well. It just all depends on the, how the different agencies are going to want to play along with each other.
We have 3 scenes. I mean, think about the work that is ahead for all these officers. We have the shooting at St. Julian and Pico, that's in South LA. We have the crash site, which is not too far from what you're looking at here. That's where those 2 suspects, we believe, are in custody. That 3rd suspect got out, and this is where he's holed up here in Long Beach now. So we have 3 different separate, as we take a look here, panning back to where this accident occurred. Des, they're at least letting some traffic through that. It's an overpass. I thought that'd be shut down, but they're at least getting people over, aren't they?
Yeah, and that tells me that they got those other 2 suspects. I mean, the one that they got out, incredibly desperate here. You see, jump down a pretty decent, distance right here. I mean, that's at least 10, 15 feet, I would imagine. So probably a painful landing for that guy. And they came running all the way down here to where we now have the perimeter set up at this small apartment building. And so here's what Mike was talking about with the floodlights now on this side of the building. So if they believe that he made it over towards the end unit or what the deal is, I mean, the door, it looks like it's getting kind of dark here. Let me see what I can do, but it does look like the screen door may be open here on this unit, second to the last, if that's where they think the suspect is. It's yeah, this is probably going to turn into a long drawn-out situation, I'm guessing, at this point.
Boy, if that was where he jumped off there, Susie, from that 10 or 12-foot wall, that was just adrenaline, and he might be injured. And I couldn't believe when you take a look at this as he's panning back to the crash site where he jumped off of and then ran for another, looks like 2.5 blocks. That's a pretty good jump.
It is. And I was thinking the same thing, and I thought it was lower than that, but when Desmond gives us that picture, my goodness, it's pretty high, isn't it? I mean, it is an overpass, a ramp going to another location. So, I mean, it's definitely high up there. And obviously, that's why officers didn't want to chase them on foot, because it would have been a very dangerous situation to jump over that fence for officers as well. But just incredible to see this. But right now, as we're talking about this building being the focal point here of this investigation right now, we're meeting all the criteria for an LAPD SWAT situation here. We have an armed, barricaded suspect inside a building. We have possibly a lot of tenants or residents inside this building as well, causing a dangerous situation, which could be a very dangerous situation for the residents who live here, who may or may not know what's happening around them.
Mike, I want to bring you in on this because I would think if there was something going on, that this guy had maybe somebody at gunpoint or there was some sort of immediate threat to somebody, police would get in there. But I would assume that they have information, and that's why they're kind of holding back a little bit. Yeah,
I would make that same, guess. I would say that if they had reason to believe that this person was imminently putting somebody in danger, they would make a pretty aggressive move to get in there. I think the fact that they're not means they either just don't know and they're just kind of, because remember, the officers on the ground saw nothing. These officers got here well after the fact because of the geography basically of where this guy ran from. So you only have the airship overhead, which they did a great job of keeping him. And as Desmond mentioned, they're very lucky they were able to have the benefit of 2 helicopters in this situation, because that's not common. It's not common that there are 2 helicopters over a pursuit. They just happened to have the resource of a sheriff's helicopter who could stay with the car while LAPD came to the scene.
Yeah, with extra eyes. I mean, that's so crucial. And I think it's an important time to tell, viewers, if you happen to be living inside this building, or if you are in this building or near this building, and you happen to make any observations of the suspect, then please call 911 right away. I'm sure that's what police would advise. But right now, it's unclear what the officers are doing down there right now in terms of what the plan is going to be, whether they evacuate this entire building first or if they'll have people shelter in place. But certainly a dangerous situation if someone is armed in there.
Yeah, this is in Long Beach, so we have 3 departments involved in this. LAPD with the initial pursuit. The Sheriff's Department got involved as well en route of this, and then Long Beach Police, of course, on the left-hand part of your screen, because this is the jurisdiction where this all ended up. So we've got multiple agencies, we've got a number of different locations, we've got multiple suspects. This is going to be a long night, if not for one department, all 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back upstairs to Desmond Shaw in SkyCal to see if he has anything new for us. Desmond, are you seeing any movement from the officers on the ground there yet?
No, not at all. They're out with weapons drawn, and this is probably a stance that they're going to be in for some time. If this is going to evolve into a SWAT situation, which it certainly seems like it's going to. LA County Sheriff's Deputy's helicopter has left the scene, so it's now just LAPD's helicopter that is over this, and we'll see how if they're going to be sticking around this one for the duration. Now here's someone peeking around, and again, this is where we saw someone that didn't have a shirt on come out and was just kind of initially wondering what was going on with their apartment building. But in that time that we didn't see when we last saw the suspect right over here up against the fence, you have to wonder, because this door was already open, if they went inside that unit right here. It's kind of we've got at least 4, possibly 8. I think we have 8 apartments here. Look at these doors right next to each other, 4 on the bottom and 4 on top. So, but LAPD, they're not going to make an approach into this alleyway and be at kind of a strategic disadvantage if they believe that someone has a gun. So this is one of those ones that could turn into a very long night, like you said, Jeff.
So, Des, we are going to keep you in place there. Of course, we have Mike Rogers on the assignment desk as we'll continue to monitor this situation. Police in pursuit of armed suspects, 2 in custody. 1 ran after crashing their vehicle and ran to this location in Long Beach on 4th and Melrose. We will continue to follow that story and bring you any updates, probably dip in throughout the newscast here at 8, 9, and 10 o'clock on KCAL News as we continue to follow that story. Well, first we'll bring you some other news. New tonight, 8 o'clock, police in Irvine are looking for this man who they say sexually battered a woman. The alleged assault happened near the UC Irvine campus.
KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers is at the desk. Mike, you have more video of this. What are police saying about it tonight?
Yeah, Susie and Jeff, I went back and forth with